So, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining and spending some time with the Purposeful People community. It's really great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you today.
So, hey, let's jump straight in. And can you perhaps take a minute to introduce yourself to the Purposeful People tribe? Explain what Live Your Legend is and what why you're involved in that and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Chelsea Dinsmore. Hello. And I am known as the Chief Inspiration Officer of Live Your Legend.
That's a great title, Chief Inspiration Officer. I was going to ask, what is an inspiration officer? That's brilliant. I want to be one.
We really don't have any normal names. My other full-time guy, Steve, he's the chief operations alchemist. So we just have a little fun with our names. We have community happiness managers, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so I am the owner of Live Your Legend, and Live Your Legend is a community, both online and in person, that helps people to find and do more meaningful work. So we really believe that if more people spent more of their time doing stuff that actually mattered to them and to the world, that overall the world would be a lot happier place. So we do that we have an online platform where we have digital courses and products and things, but then we also have in-person communities that get together. To date, we're in about 250 cities in 70 countries around the world, and those meetups get together on a monthly basis. So that's kind of the gist of Live Your Legend, and I'm so passionate about it because I grew up in a pretty traditional environment in the sense that both my parents are veterinarians, very wonderful, respectable job. They actually really enjoy their work, so that's great. But I kind of grew up with this idea that you wake up and then you go to school and you go to university and then you have one career your entire life, and that's just what you do. And you're meant to know it when you're 18. But that wasn't my path. As I actually went into life, that just did not end up being my path. And it wasn't until I really realized, you don't just have to get a job because you're supposed to. You can actually spend your days doing something that you love. And when you do something you love, people want to pay you for it. And it's pretty amazing when you can align your life in that way. So I really just feel so passionately about it because I think that so many people don't even know that it's an option out there. And so one of the things that we do out of Live Your Legend is bring awareness to that. And then through the stories of our community and the people within the community, we kind of show what's possible. And then, like I mentioned in our courses, we dive really deep into tips and tactics of actually how to implement and create change in your life.
That's that's great, and it's very, very close to the heart of really what Purposeful People is all about as well. However, I've got to ask you, finding and living your legend can sound quite daunting, right? It can sound in a way like a difficult journey with some perhaps tough decisions to make, perhaps taking risk in new areas of your career or in your life. So I guess the question I wanted to ask is how can we actually make good decisions when there are lots of factors, fear and risk and hopes and dreams all at play? Any advice on how we can actually start to navigate that?
Unfortunately, it's not a simple answer, but the best things in life aren't simple, right? So I really think that, the first step of living life intentionally or purposefully, as you might call it, is really understanding yourself. And so many people do things because they're supposed to or should, or it's the next step, or it's what's normal, where they've never actually stopped to look at themselves and say, well, yeah, the definition societally of success is to, sit at the top of the ladder and buy a house and have a car and all this stuff. But do I even care about any of that stuff? So most of the time we're walking down a road that we haven't even chosen for ourselves. So I think it really starts with actually knowing what matters to you. And that comes into a lot of your values. A lot of times we value what society values because that's what's normal. But every individual is so unique, and it's about first learning who you are so that you have a firm foundation to make decisions from. And then, as you're talking about this fear and this risk and things like that, our minds are incredibly powerful, and they play tricks on us, very evil tricks at times, to keep us safe or secure or in control. But a lot of times when you break your fears down, or your beliefs that limit you of what's possible down, you start to realize that it's really never as bad. The potential future is never as bad most of the time as you paint it in your head. So we do a lot of, we have a lot of decision-making tools about, discovering your values, and then also really actually getting real with yourself, because it's super easy to kind of live in this fantasy world where our worst case scenario is, no joke, I'm going to be living on the streets. I remember when I was going through a transition in my career at the time, that was I believed I could be living on the streets. But in actuality, the amount of time it would have taken for me to get from where I was to actually being homeless, there was a huge gap there, but I was letting the gap appear very small. So it's about a lot of mind shift sets, and just making sure that we're being really real about our worst case scenario and our current case scenario and what our values are, what matters to us. But when you can make decisions from an aligned place, I think that you just feel a lot better about them. But it's about creating that foundation first.
Yeah, perfect. So a couple of months back, you contributed to a roundup post that I did on top tips of how to accomplish more. And you focused on two, I remember in particular. There was environment and imperfect action. Can you perhaps elaborate about why you chose those two as ways to make an impact?
Absolutely. Well, the first one kind of got presented to me in the sense, so when Live Your Legend began, it began just as an online platform. And then we started having all these people saying, wow, these tools are great, but then I go home and everybody tells me that I'm stupid for thinking differently. So we kind of realized as Live Your Legend was being built, just the importance of your surroundings, because if you have, the best of anything in the world, but everyone around you tells you that you're crazy, you're not going to get very far. So the people that you surround yourself with are so important in creating that space for you to take the next step, or to take leaps, as sometimes people call them. So that's number one, is just surrounding yourself by people who actually believe that whatever it is that you want to do is possible. That's really important. And then the second one was, what was the second one again?
Imperfect action.
Oh, right. So, that's exactly getting to this point of kind of what we were saying just a moment ago, is people sometimes think that when they want to do something, it has to be this beautiful, clearly laid out picture with the business plan of exactly how everything is going to look and the design and all of this. But you're never going to make any progress if you wait for perfection, because perfection is a myth. So what we really encourage people to do at Live Your Legend is to start really small steps. Like, say, for example, right now you're in a corporate career and you think that you want to be a musician. We don't tell people, quit your job and start playing music today. We say, why don't on the side you check out if there's any local spots that you could play, or film a YouTube video, put it up there, send it to your friends, post it on Facebook, see what the response is like. Like, you don't wait until you're an expert or perfect at something to actually put it out in the world, because more often than not, the feedback that you get about what you think is perfect is so drastically different. Like I said, our community showed us that we needed to have a community aspect. That wasn't something we dreamed up. So oftentimes you're going to get better feedback by actually putting your imperfect actions out there and hearing what people have to say in response to that. If you wait until everything's perfect, you're going to be waiting a really long time.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
And results matter, and the more that you attempt, the more that you accomplish. So that's just what we're all about at Live Your Legend, is get your voice out there, get your work out there, put your strengths out, help people how you know how to help them, and see what unfolds from it, because that's really the beauty of the process, instead of trying to have control and make it look exactly how we think it should look.
Absolutely. Going back to the environment piece, you talked about like elevating who you spend time with and surrounding yourself with those right people. I guess two questions there. First of all, are there any practical tips you'd recommend for people to actually do that? How can they do that? And then the second one is, sometimes you hear people saying things like, yes, you're the average of the top 5 people you spend your time around. So kind of ditch people who aren't, moving you towards your goals, which obviously can sound pretty harsh. Perhaps if you've got, dear friends, who are a bit negative, or family members who are, in a bad way. And so I kind of wonder what you feel about that and how to manage with those kind of tensions.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting to the first one, the practical tips, the internet is amazing. This day and age, there's bits of the internet that I don't love, in the sense that it makes us feel a false sense of connection sometimes. It's easy to sit behind your computer and never actually go out into the world. So that's one of the downfalls. But one of the really beautiful things about it is that there is so much information available to you. So like, say you want to do the craziest thing, like you want to, I don't know, knit pumpkins, and that's like how you're passionate about that. I can guarantee that online today, you can find someone who's doing it. And so that's the beauty of the internet, is that there's a connectedness, there's a worldwide connectedness that we now have. And in my opinion, that connectedness allows us to be in touch with people we would never otherwise be in touch with. Or, even if you can't get in touch with them, say what you want to do, somebody's kind of, big in their industry or whatever, and you can't actually reach out to them, you can at least learn about their story and model what they're doing. So that's really great. And not to mention just the virtual communities that are available these days. No matter what you're into, like I just joined a Facebook group for like digital nomads, because I'm on the road a lot, but I work by myself a lot and I want to be more connected. So whatever it is that's out there, like, you can find a community around it. So that's really cool. So, my practical tip there is start within. I think in-person connection is super important. So find something that jives with you in your local region. But then if you're kind of looking to do something that's a little bit outside of what you have available to you, or you're super remote or isolated, tap into the internet, because it is a great resource. And then in terms of firing toxic friends is the words that we use at Live Your Legend, which that's actually a little harsh language for my opinion. Our founder, Scott Dinsmore, that was my late husband, that was more his language. But I think that we have compartments in our lives. And, you've got your friends, you've got your family, and you've got kind of maybe like your business or, colleagues or whatever you want to call that compartment. And you're never going to get rid of any one of those compartments. I'm not saying, if your mom's not in a great mood all the time, like stop talking to your mom, because that's not going to fill you, and that's just not going to serve your life. I just think it's about, when you are looking to be inspired, or making sure that you spend X% of your time around the people that are actually going to listen to your dreams. And then maybe in those other environments, you just like some families cannot talk politics, right? Like there's certain things that you discuss in those environments, and maybe they're a little bit more, maybe they're a little bit more surface level. But like, for example, like you have the ability to kind of navigate your interactions. And like one of my favorite questions to ask some of my family members is like about the stuff they're really excited about. Like, my mom loves horseback riding. So I want to talk to my mom about horseback riding because she's super excited about that. And so, it's about navigating those conversations, because most people have something that they want to talk about, and you might not be able to per se talk about everything that you're used to talking about in certain environments, but there can still be enlightening conversation. It's just about where you kind of steer that ship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And as you were saying that, it does remind me actually of, I was watching a TV series, you might have seen it around Merlin, right? Arthur, King Arthur's wizard, right? Merlin.
Yeah.
And, basically when he's, when he's getting beaten up and nobody wants to, nobody believes in him, he goes down to this cave, right? And he finds this dragon who's all chained up in the cave. And basically the dragon sometimes gives him a bad time, but always says, it's your destiny, it's your destiny. And then he kind of comes out of the cave and goes and does what he has to do. And I think we kind of all need at least somebody, right, that we can go and who's going to tell us, keep going, go for it, it's your destiny. And to encourage us to do it. As you say, when often lots of people around us are thinking, why don't you just take the safe option? Just stay at your job, just do the same old, why rock the boat? And I think we always need to find somebody who's going to provoke us and get us to move forward.
Yeah. And, I think the thing is to really recognize you have something to learn from everybody. If you can position yourself as a student instead of a student of life, a student of interactions and relationships, instead of, oh my gosh, like I'm happy and this person isn't, like you're not giving yourself any space to receive anything from them. Whereas if you approach all of your interactions of, I really have something to learn from everyone, whether it's just a shift in perspective, maybe it's even something you don't want to do. You can learn from every interaction. And so I think to just approach your relationships that way, it takes away some of that weight and that heaviness around perhaps some of those people who don't necessarily always lift you up, but you can learn from everybody, even if it's something you learn you don't want to do or be like, or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. So Chelsea, it's been really great talking with you. I guess the question I have just to finish up is, if people are interested, what's the best way for people to, first of all, find out more about Live Your Legend? And then I know there's a lot of stuff that you guys have put out there. Where's the best place to start really engaging with all that content?
Absolutely. So if you come to Live Your Legend, like you mentioned, you'll see a lot of information. We have a lot of articles and just tons of stuff out there. But really the best place, step one to start is we have what we call our Passionate Work Toolkit. And it's a free toolkit that you can sign up for just by entering your email address. And that's really step one in kind of assessing where you are in this journey. Because some people know what they want to do, they just don't know how to do it. And then other people just, all they know is that they hate what they're doing. So it really just kind of helps you to assess what you're doing. It has free tools. And then we have a huge section, you'll see it on the website, called our popular posts that are branched out by the number one problems that we have heard from hundreds of thousands of people. We ask people their number one frustration of why they're not doing work that they love. And so we've kind of categorized those under our popular posts page. And then, as I mentioned, our courses, they address deeply, like in-depth, guided discovery of wherever your current pain point is. I don't know my passion. We have one to help you discover it. Right. I know it. I don't know how to turn a career into it. We have that. Right. So it really just depends on what step you are in your journey. But every single person, I think, could benefit from all of the free tools. Every single article is free. The local groups are free. We have tons of workbooks and things like that. We have tons of free stuff. So you can benefit and assess where you are simply by tapping into that Passionate Work Toolkit.
Excellent. Yeah, and I've been through some of those things myself, and I've got to vouch they're great, they're very professional, and they're helpful. So thank you.
Great. I'm so happy to hear that.
Okay, Chelsea, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll talk some other time.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to answer any questions should anyone have them.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.